idea of managing a new product, right? Like, well, so much goes into a new product, right? From like the concept and idea to the feasibility to financing, figuring out if it could be commercialized, et cetera, right? So we're gonna talk about a little of this. Opportunity identification and selection. Well, let me ask you first. Any of you ever had any ideas of starting your own product? Creating your own product of any kind? And what was that?
Uh, Me and one of my cousins were gonna launch an app. It's like kind of like Uber for lawn care. So if you want to get your lawn cut, but you can't be there, you just go hire like a local high school or college kid that wants to make like a quick $30. They just go do it.
When you were kind of analyzing how this would work, what was like the major challenges?
There's a lot of lawn care companies everywhere, and everyone kind of already has an in. So like, if the house next to me is getting cut by XYZ company, they're probably cutting more houses in my neighborhood. So it's hard to get those people to go away from like a consistent service to, go hire random. But
Yeah.
the solution that we came up with was kind of like a subscription fee. It's like if we build our client base big enough, we can charge those companies XYZ dollars a month, and then they get first pick of these new customers that want to get their lawns cut.
Okay, excellent. You're like, hey, you know what? Two things we gotta focus on. Two different types of customers. One is individual households or people who live in condos or apartments. The other is the contractors, right? You're like, hey, a lot of times they have a stronghold on the neighborhood already, right? They might already have some sort of agreement to do the entire block or something like that. People feel comfortable with them, right? A lot of people are older, may not want to use all the, sort of modern things like that. But you're like, there's other opportunities there too. 'Cause maybe we could use the app in order to get them more business, right? Because everybody could come within this community, this network, communicate, and see what they'll benefit from. What happened with it? You just stopped?
We both started college, so it kind of fizzled out. But he's doing computer science at UIC, and I'm doing data analytics here.
Okay.
So we figured eventually, if we save up enough money after college, we'll try it again.
Do you still see potential,
I think so, yeah.
even now?
I think there's things like Thumbtack and TaskRabbit and stuff like that that parallel it, but I think if we go super niche and go just like lawn care or power washing your driveway, stuff like that,
Yeah.
then find somewhere in there to make.
Yeah, don't spread yourself out too much.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else? What did you have in mind?
Well, I wanted to market like myself as an artist, but to do that too, I wanted to do like merchandising and things like that. So I thought about clothes for a while, and just the challenges with that is just like really just lifting off, starting off, finding a manufacturer for it, and then figuring out like how you wanna market to the audience that you're trying to. So my brand, it was Suave, that was my brand, and I kind of wanted like a hoodie with like a cool like design like on the back from like the arm to like the other arm that just said Suave on it.
All right, and so when you're thinking of like your audience, like who were people that would buy Suave?
Just like a younger audience, like teenagers to like maybe like young 20s, but I mean, it's really marketed to anybody.
To anybody. Because everybody wear a hoodie and they're comfortable.
Exactly.
Okay. What happened? It just
I
money.
never like thought it out enough. This year I do want to like take it off though.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else have any ideas? Yes.
I mean, I was like looking like for like it's like entertainment. So like I was gonna do like an indoor golf simulator kind of like place. I was like looking at it, and there's like some places like around the area, and I think it's like something that I would do like after I graduate, obviously, because like for the fun. But like I feel like there's like a lot of profits to be made, especially when you can like run a business that's 24/7 where you don't gotta like attend.
Was it just gonna be indoor golf, or was it gonna be other things included? Billiards?
Yeah, it would probably start like depending on like the location. Like there was one that I saw like it's just one single like slot place, it's like one little like room. But I'm sure like if you build you can expand and do other stuff too.
What do you think is the major challenge to that?
Just, I don't know, just like starting it up, like I said, the fun, like to get like the simulator. Sometimes like if you want like a top tier golf simulator, it's gonna be like $4,000, $6,000, $10,000. So
Yeah.
just starting it.
Yeah, you think of the space, right? You're like, oh man, it probably costs a lot of money to lease, right? And then you also gotta think of like, hey, in those sorts of, establishment, what makes the real money? Is it the drinks, meaning you gotta have a bar or slash little restaurant or place people can eat? Or is it the actual payment for golf simulators or billiards or darts or something like that? Right, I would think predominantly that it would be food and drink as well too, you know, because you're like, hey, if you are doing the golf simulator, you're like, how long does someone pay for? How much time in the day? That means you can only have X amount of people on that, and will that equate to like some profitability? But I think it could be very profitable. It's just like the other things around it have to like, you know, kind of be the catch as well too. Anyone else? Any ideas? Anything you think of starting? All right. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about with new product development is opportunity identification and selection, right? You're like, hey, do I just go off my own intuition? This is just something of interest I'm really interested in. Or maybe I'm more just profit driven and I'm looking at the demand in the marketplace to create a new product so that it fulfills something that people want, right? And so when we think of new products, we're like, well, they're ongoing, they never stop. It'd be another iPhone, right? It'd be an iPhone 20, iPhone 21, new product. It'd be a new version of AirPods, right? You're like, well, how creative can you get? You know, I talk about Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks all the time. You're kind of like, well, could we create a new drink, right? Like, what's the new drink? Is it matcha? We ride the matcha wave and we start creating new sort of concoctions from matcha, something of the sort, right? So when we think of new product development, let's try to be creative and think like any and everything to fulfill some sort of niche, right? Or really to fulfill some sort of demand out there in the marketplace. All right, so here we're talking about, hey, we're gonna start at the top. Before we have concept generation, when we start generating a concept for our product, we gotta look at a few things. We gotta identify and select a few things. First, we say, hey, we need inputs from ongoing marketing planning, right? Which means that, hey, number one, what are the resources out there available? Are they feasible? Do they make sense? We're doing research, we're seeing who wants this stuff. Will it make sense, right? Then we can kind of do some audits, right? Dig a little bit more into these relevant markets and look at the resources. We kind of go a little bit deeper on analysis. And then we get corporate plan. So we say, hey, we have a company. Let's say we already have a company already. We also have to plan within the company to say, all right, we'll have to maybe get a team to kind of focus on this, R&D. Who are the people that we get involved in order to create a new product? Right? And then we got to sort suggestions for product innovation activities, such as exploit underutilized resources, right? So we may look at these things within our company and say, hey, maybe some technical advantages we have, some financial, some product, and some marketing advantages, right? Things that we don't utilize all the time, but maybe that if we kind of do a little bit more digging that we can exploit those things. And with that, we can exploit new resources. So discoveries, acquisitions, diversified markets, right? Maybe we can analyze the markets and see, are they more diversified than we first thought? All right, next we got to respond to external mandate. External mandate is just responding to demand, the outside demand for customers, right? We want to kind of see what's going out there in the field so we can do some quality studies, what customer needs, competitive threats? Is there already a product out there? And what do they do well? Regulations, like, oh, I have a wonderful idea for this and that, right? So for the lawn care, like, are there regulations? Do I need a permit from the village, from the city? What are some other things out there that I need to take into consideration? Then we got an internal mandate, right? Which means inside our organization, we have the owners, top management plans, unit management plans, and some sort of gaps in between. All right, below that, we need to evaluate the resource and identify it carefully. So we already said we've analyzed resources and new resources and underutilized, and now we say, hey, you know what? Define them carefully. What are the resources exactly? Next, we'll say we'll study the mandate and validate the threat, study the mandate and validate role for product innovation, which just means utilizing the right people for the right sort of purpose for innovating products. Okay, beyond that, we'll call to a pool of validated new product opportunities. So we reject those that conflict with ongoing product innovation strategy, which means that if we are creating multiple products, we might have to reject one or more of those if we start to see that they conflict with other products that we want to make. Right? So for example, you could think of potato chips. There's a variety of potato chips and sodas. Right, you get out there and someone comes up with an idea, a concept, we start to test it, we do focus groups, see how people feel about the taste, the color of the can, the bottle, how it resonates with people. And then we may find that it conflicts with some of the other products that we're making, that it just doesn't pair well. And we may have to reject those for certain reasons. And we'll reject those clearly not economically or technically viable. Which means that in your ideas or for your products that you discuss, you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe everything won't work. Certain things may work, and maybe I need to emphasize working on those because the other ones are just gonna suck out a lot of money and not be economically or even technically viable. Like you can't even do it from a technical standpoint. And then we give each opportunity a product innovation charter, right? What fits in the charter already in place and what requires a new charter. Okay? So what I want to do next is quickly go over our syllabus. So I want to talk about our projects and our assignments just so we're all on the same page. So let's take a look and see what we have. What are your thoughts on the Bears game?
Hard to tell.
What do you think about Caleb?
Good.
Good? Keep him?
Yeah.
Stick around?
I still think everybody's young though. Like there were a lot of like rookie mistakes, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they, it's not like they didn't get their butts kicked. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, this year was looking really, really promising for the Bears. Like at the beginning, but that's the thing with the Bears. It's like as the season progresses, like towards the end, it kind of gets a little disappointing. Any non-Bears fans in here? Any Packers fans?
Better not be.
What's that?
They better not be.
All right, let's take a look at the syllabus so we know what to expect. All right, textbook, New Products Management, 12th edition, by Crawford and D. Benedetto. And so for our grading, what we'll do is there'll be discussion posts. Those are 2 points each for a total of 30 points. We'll have some quizzes, right? Week 3, week 5, 8, and 15, 4 points each, 16 points in total. A couple written assignments, 5 of them, 6 points each for 30 points. And then we get a final group presentation. I'll also add, attendance will, definitely be on here for points, right? We have a small class, so I want everyone to be here, right? So that we only get 6 people in this course. So I want everyone to be here every class, so, we try to keep it as engaging as possible. Now, I do wanna switch a couple things up too, to kind of keep the course, interesting. One of them is to do a 3D sort of concept of your product or your idea that we'll discuss and how we can go about doing that. And then 2, I want you to have something to share with the class each week in terms of new products. So once again, I kind of do this in my other courses, is 1 PowerPoint slide, just a few bullet points, discuss some new product or new service that you've observed out there in the world that you can share with us. And maybe what you think is interesting about it, or challenging about it, or a trend that's sort of happening. And what we'll do is we'll share that, 1 person will share each week, right? So 1 per week, right? So what we'll do is 1, 2, 3 on Mondays, you'll share yours. And 1, 2, 3 Wednesdays, right? So just 1 PowerPoint slide, something you have heard, something new, right? Some new product or some new service out there, and tell us about it. That way we can keep the class, interesting. And that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at our final presentation here so we're all clear on that. All right, so all the written assignments are on there to explain in clarity, so there's no confusion there. I'll double check the Blackboard too, just to make sure dates are correct. I know sometimes Blackboard gets the dates all messed up. Let's go and see our final. All right, here we go. Hey, for our final group project, your group needs to choose a company that has introduced a recent, very successful product, and research the marketing process, new product development, then talk about the steps in the process and what they did right to make this product successful. So here, saying I'm not as concerned as the accuracy of the steps they actually took, though I want you as much as possible that you can find as your perception of this way and how it should have been done. Right, so what we'll do is, trying to think, should we do groups or should we do individuals? I think we'll do individuals, right? Because it's such a small class, I don't think group will even make sense. So instead of a group sort of assignment, it'd be an individual assignment, right? You're gonna find a product for your final presentation, right? You're gonna do some research, right? And then you're gonna talk about the steps in the process. Try to get as detailed as possible, right? We'll talk about financial things, management things, research and development things, the market itself, bless you, all those sorts of things, right? So we want a kind of a full spectrum presentation. Make sense? Clear? Okay. All right, chapter 1, the strategic elements of product development, right? Product development, why study new products, right? Why study new products? Well, we say new products are extremely important. They are novel. They are something that maybe people have never seen before. They get people's interest. It may convert old customers into new customers. It may convert non-existing customers into new customers. You may take away customers from a competitor, right? So it's big business. Billions of dollars annually on technical development alone, right? Billions and billions of dollars. You think of beer, you think of wine, you think of shoes, right? You think of all sorts of things, right? Even though we're talking about, say, hoodies, you're like, hey, you could get extremely technical on your hoodie. Like your hoodie might have certain fabrics that wick away sweat, other fabrics that are elastic but maybe not harmful in some sort of environmental way. Maybe they have pockets that you can't see. Like, man, even if it was a hoodie, you could create the ultimate hoodie, right? You could create so think about that. You're like, if you were like, hey, I'm gonna revolutionize the hoodie, what would you do?
To revolutionize the hoodie?
Yeah. Let's say here, a hoodie's a hoodie. You're like, yeah. How far can you go? You're like, well, first, and they wanna, what comprised of a hoodie? I bet, what are sleeves? What could I do with that? Right? There's the hood. What can I do with that? This hasn't been done. Right? And then there's the body, the frame part. What can I do with that? That hasn't been done. What do you think? Just off the top of your head. You all wear hoodies. Like, what could be like? I've revolutionized the hoodie. Yes.
No, I was just gonna say like something that they thought was like revolutionary to the hoodie that like kind of didn't succeed. I remember like 2012 when I was like in like middle school, probably like elementary. There used to be like these hoodies with like built-in earbud, like headphones to your hoodies, like maybe like these strings, and then you're just wearing like.
You're like, excellent. In my mind, you're like, I wear a hoodie. And when I wear my hoodie, I want my earphones. Hoodie, earphones pair together. Can I synthesize hoodies and headphones? Can I integrate them in some way? What else? What could you do? Revolutionize a hoodie.
Make them so like you can like adjust it, like maybe instead of buying a hoodie and a jacket, you can make it so that the hoodie can become the jacket. Like if you just like put a few buttons and then just like, and then boom, now hoodie's a jacket.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you know what? In my mind, we say hoodie and jacket are close. In nature, they're close. You're like, they're so close, but they're different. Like, what if I can cross the threshold of what customers think that they're different and actually make them not different? Make them the same thing and make them quasi-jacket, right? Convertible into a jacket, just by changing a few things. All right, so you're like, okay, a hoodie becomes a jacket, or a hoodie integrates earphones. What else?
I know like a lot of times, I know right now it's a trend. I do it too. Like whenever I wear a hoodie, I like to wear the longer undershirt under it. But instead of doing that, you can just add like a ring of fabric on the bottom of the hoodie so it replicates.
Yeah, you're like hanging on. Sometimes the hoodies are short, or you got a lot of movement, and you're like, it's rising too high, right? What if I, from the bottom third of the hoodie, just add a layer of extra fabric that covers all of this, right? Problem solved. Like, you're like analyzing a hoodie. You're like, what are problems with hoodies? I don't know, they rise up to it. Maybe they're bulky, maybe they're too bulky at times, right? Maybe they're not fashionable enough. Maybe, something else. Well, what do you think? Anyone else? Could you think of anything you could do to create a new hoodie? Yes.
Some sort of new material, maybe like more lightweight, but still like warmer.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you know what? Let's make it as thin as possible with some material that absolutely traps in heat, right? And therefore, it would be, your hoodie could be worn with anything. Because you're like, hey, think about this, like from a marketing perspective, if you're selling the idea of a hoodie, and you got your investors, you got your management team, you got your CEOs, and they're all coming into the meeting, hearing about your idea for the hoodie, and you're kind of like, well, we found that the hoodie usually is hidden if it's worn with something else, like a coat, right? We don't want it to be hidden. We want it to be shown to everyone. So there's an obstacle. One would like the reason why we found is that people think it's too bulky, right? So therefore, if it's too bulky, we're going to come up, try to discover some new material or find what's out there in order to get it lightweight so it could be worn all the time, shown. Anything else? Matthew, could you think of anything for a hoodie?
Maybe like, maybe like how loose or how compression is maybe, because like sometimes you like, some people wear like a jacket for like working out or like something if it's like cold within like the gym or something, so maybe like saying loose or fitted or compression maybe.
Okay, so like the fit, right? Like, hey, it's a fit, kind of an all-around fit. Right? Something that could work in different situations or activities that you do. Yeah, so think how far, you could go as far as you want. You could be like, hey, I'm creating a double hoodie. There's one that you wear underneath for working out, that you're gonna sweat in, and then there's one that kind of just comes right off that you'll wear after you leave the workout, right? Because like, here's a problem. Nobody wants to wear their sweaty hoodie leaving the gym, right? So they can put on their double hoodie, right? Give it another one, and maybe it has some sort of bag that'll like sanitize it or something at the same time, right? You're like, well, because hoodies are used a lot in that environment. So you like, your analysis may be like hoodies in workout environments. Another thing could be integrate some sort of thermodynamic like sort of features to it, right? You kind of like, hey, it has a heating system if you connect it to some sort of battery pack, right? It can attach to your phone or something like that, right? And warm you up to some degree. Right? Others could say like, hey, attach gloves to the hood. Make it kind of unattachable, make them attachable to a degree, right? Maybe you say the hood can come off and become a hat, right? What if you do the sort of ski mask version that comes off and kind of converts to hat? So the point is like any simple kind of concept you can think, including a hoodie, can be something that people will buy, right? Because people already love the hoodie, they're probably looking for something different. For the most part, I think, usually people are looking for the graphics, got Suave, right? So you're like, for the most part, people are looking for a brand and logo to be shown off or expressed somewhere, usually. But if you could do something even beyond that, people probably pay ton of extra money. All right, but it says big business, billions of dollars annually on technical development alone. So even hoodies could be technical in nature, right? Very technical. The challenge of creating radical innovation, right? Totally new product categories. Could you think of what is a totally new product category that's fairly recent? You can think of. Like this is a whole new category. So yes.
A lot of people say AI.
Right, like, hey, AI is a new category, right? Because it's generative. Generative just with prompts. Create me a video of Maduro and Diddy hanging out in the jail cell with baby oil. Boom, you got your cool video, right? And you're like, well, who could have did that before? Nobody could have did that before, right? So obviously it is something that's completely new, right? Yeah, hopefully we're not using AI to create videos. Okay, so you're like, hey, completely new category. Anything else you could think of? Like, this is new category. Like something that you actually use. Fairly recent, let's say, last 10 years.
You say iPhone?
No, just any product that you think is a new category of product. Like, it's not just a new product, but they actually created a new category for things, yes.
I don't know if it was around and I just didn't know, but I feel like the nose strips when you sleep to help keep your nose open, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like I never saw those before,
Mouth tape.
and then,
Yeah.
yeah, even like mouth tape and stuff, like all that stuff is huge now.
Yeah, you like the nasal clips, right? That's, fairly new. All right, what do you think?
I was gonna say like, you know, like massage guns, like the portable massage guns.
It's so funny you mentioned that. Like, I found bought a nice one like 3 years ago, and it was just put away somewhere, and I found it the other day, and I'm like, man, I gotta use this. Yeah, those things are awesome.
And like you have such a big market for those because like you can tailor it to not only people who are athletes or so on, but also of all different ages, but also just people in general who are active as well.
Yeah, you're like, hey man, you know, your back may ache because of work. You know, we might all be working or just sitting down all day. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be sitting in a chair at school and like, yeah, I get tired of sitting down so much. That could come in handy. Yes.
Like the rings that like tell your vitals and like all those things. Like it started with the Fitbits and now it's like transferred to the
Yeah.
Fitbits.
Yeah, you're like absolutely like, hey, how long humans been wearing rings, right? For all sorts of reasons. Integrate technology into rings, because we did it with a watch, right? Or a bracelet for that matter. So give people information on their rings. Were you gonna say something, Dan?
They're not popular now, but hoverboards were kind of like that.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned that too. I just found one of my older hoverboards, the two-wheelers or whatever that kind of move. Yeah, and so the kids want to play with it and they love it and stuff like that. Yeah, those were extremely popular because you're like, hey, you know what? We got the bicycle, cool. Everybody rode a bike forever. And then we went to scooters, like, well, scooters are more compact. You can actually maybe carry them around a lot easier, bring them into buildings. But you're like, what if you eliminate the pole? And now you've got a hoverboard that's even more maybe compact in some way. But challenge, because you're like a little bit more dangerous, right? Because you know, try to balance yourself and whatnot. Or what's the one with the one wheel?
The unicycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? You know, like those are cool. I mean, they go like fast, but they're dangerous. But yeah, totally new category. So let me ask you. So the real ingenuity is like, what's next? Like if somebody say, how far can you take that? What could you create beyond the hoverboard? What's next? Right? That would be the $1 billion idea. Like, what's next? Right? Even for, it's a Instagram and Snapchat versus TikTok, right? You kind of like, what's next after TikTok? What do you think? Like, what using your creativity, like, what do you think will be next beyond TikTok? Because we went from YouTube, 20-minute videos, and people got bored, nobody wanted to see that no more. Right? And then we said, okay, we start to get reels and shorts, right? Reels and shorts, and then TikToks. So what's next? What's the next wave? What do you think? Like, is it just a flash of a picture for 1 second? What do you think?
I feel like live streaming has been really big right now.
All right, so you're like, hey, you know what? People want to see it live. Twitch, right? Maybe
Yeah.
like Twitch. Like, I don't know, maybe live streaming could be the way. I don't know. Anything else you can think of? Like maybe incorporating AI?
I mean, I think eventually it'll just turn into a lot of AI, like I see a lot of AI generated videos right now anyways, so I think there'll be more like, I think it'll transition to like real people using AI to get their ideas across instead of them just shooting the content. So like imagine like a Mr. Beast video, but it's AI running it instead of real people inside with whatever the challenge is.
Alright, and so think about this, like, you know, someone may come along and be like, hey, I'm banking that in the near future, people will be so used to AI, right? They won't be complaining, hey, Grok, is this real, right? ChatGPT, is this real? That people just like, I don't care if it's real no more, right? Inevitably, people just kind of be like, let's see who can make the best AI generated content. And that would, you know, someone could come along and say, that's the trajectory I'm going down, right? Someone else would be like, no, because people still like real life and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? So yeah, so think of all the, you know, just where things are headed, right? And how you like, it's lots and lots of money, right? Some things create totally new product categories. We could think of AirPods. That was a new category. The little pen stylus at one point, that was a new category. Some of it caught on, some of it didn't catch on really strong, right? So yes, so like creating new product categories is the most important business issue of our time, most kind of difficult thing to kind of revolutionize something that people have been doing forever. Right, so you could think of like even like soda. You're like, well, where do we go with soda? You're like, well, okay, people drink soda for taste, for sugar, but obviously also for caffeine. Caffeine gives you energy and helps you focus, your attention, et cetera, and then people are like, well, energy drinks. That's the next wave, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of you drink a lot of energy drinks, right? Who here are my energy drink drinkers? Right? And so if you think about it, you're like, how do I get people to buy the energy drinks? What can I say on the can to make people buy it? And talk about it. How does the can look? What color is it? What kind of design is it? And so here's the thing. We found that this category of consumers need quicker energy that's available at all times. Coffee is not, because coffee gets cold. No one wants to drink. You know, if you bought hot coffee, you don't want it cold. If you bought a cold coffee, it may dilute because of the ice. So like, okay, these are things that we found out from the consumer base. But this other kind of category of people who drink the energy drinks also think that like, here's a problem. They want it quasi-healthy. And like, so how do we convince, because it's just the art of persuasion, that it's healthy? We like no sugar. But let's do no sugar. Because we, you know, I want people to stay fit, not get diabetes, and have that sugar crash. But then we're like, okay, another problem. How do you make it sweet? Only use artificial sweeteners, aspartame, things like that. You're like, is that healthy? But will they think it's healthy? Sure. So here's the problem. So, not a problem, but you're like, as a marketer, your thing is like, we know there's no perfect solution to anything. There is none. But we do know that there's a sweet spot where people will be convinced. You get what I'm saying? So you're kind of, go as a marketer, like, where's the sweet spot where we convince the people, right? And so, think about it. Soda or energy drink that's flavored or sweetened in some way, all you do is ask a simple question. Give me the diabetes, or give me the cancer with the artificial sweetener. Me personally, give me the diabetes. So when I go buy it, I'm like, I'll take the diabetes to go, right? But no, just think in this way. So the point I'm making is that in reality, we know that there's no perfect any of this. So we're like, organic, healthy, protein shake, like, it's marketing, right? So don't get it twisted, and you know. But we're like, as a marketer, like, this is wonderful. We can convince people to talk about it. 13 grams and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's excellent marketing. That person's selling it, right? Free marketing. You're like, whoever created that is great. And so that's our job. Our job is to create those types of people, right? Create those types of people. So yeah, something to just pay attention to. Like, there's no perfect product, there's no perfect service. There's a sweet spot, and you just gotta get to that point where you sell it to them, and they'll also sell it to other people. And somebody had the hand up. Here's your hand up.
Oh, no, I thought you were asking how they like market it to us. They just-
Okay, I mean, you can add to that.
They
So,
just make it super bright. Like every can I see is super, like it catches your eye.
yeah. Yeah, and oftentimes, you like, all right, they're using these bright colors, obviously, to maybe look like fruits. And subconsciously, we know fruits are healthy, so maybe, unconsciously, we're gonna quasi the healthiest version we can get out of this particular topic. So accelerating innovation and business growth through innovation are the top business challenges according to the Industrial Research Institute. What time is it? Okay. All right, but the new products process is difficult. So we say creating a new product is extremely difficult. Most products fail that are new, right? The percent of products that fail. Here they're saying 90%. 90% of products sometimes quoted in the press fail. Right? 40% of research reported products fail. And 10% of products that are sometimes claimed fail as well too. So although you may hear much higher percentages, careful studies supported by research evidence suggest that about 40% of all products fail that are new, somewhat higher for consumer products, somewhat lower for business-to-business products. So, he's basically saying it's kind of harder to sell to a bunch of individual consumers than it would be for a business, for many reasons, right? Like, there's so many individuals, so it's so spread out. Whereas businesses, not as many businesses, so obviously you don't have to diversify your ideas as much with that. But most products fail, right? Something to keep in mind. Most products that are new fail. Because beyond that, you're like, well, you have to have the marketing with that. Could be something excellent. What do you think are some products that you've seen that were actually pretty decent that didn't last? Like that didn't stick, but you thought they were kind of cool? Like they should have been more popular or caught on than they did. Anything you can think of? You're like, I actually like that.
The hoverboard.
The hoverboard. But what do you think was maybe the number one thing why it did not catch on like in a commercial format? Say like versus scooters.
I think the learning curve is too steep.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like it's too steep of a learning curve. Requires skill, human beings, our attention spans are short, we're not putting that much work, most of us are lazy human beings, we're not gonna put in that much work to try to figure out. Right? And then two, you're like, well, if you fail on a hoverboard, you're probably going to the hospital, right? So that's a problem.
I think fidget spinners were ahead of their time.
Tell me why, what was so great?
Because they're just it's super good for fidgeting and stuff, but that was like, I think they were big when I was in like 6th grade, but now there's so much talk about like, stimulation and fidget spinning and, keeping yourself distracted and, how can you distract yourself all the time? So
Yeah.
I think they were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you're like, hey, fidget spinners, fidget. So a lot of people who suffer from impulse control, right, emotional regulation, attention deficit, things that nature. Like, hey, fidget spinners kind of help you pay attention to something, focus, maybe using it over long term, might have had some benefits, some positive benefits in some way for those. But they went away. Why do you think they did not catch on?
I think it was looked at more like a kid's toy than like a real solution to things. It might not even been a solution, but I think it got to the kids first versus going to adults first, and that's
Yeah.
why it fizzled out.
Yeah, like, maybe they should have targeted adults first, and then later on trickled down to the children, right? Okay, Matthew?
Something that, saying like a failure, I was thinking we had when my family did was a satellite TV, like the satellite TV for cable and all that.
Like the physical
Like,
satellite
yeah,
outside
straight
your
up
house?
Satellites on top of your
Direct
house.
TV,
Yeah,
Dish Network?
Yeah. Like, I think those are like a big failure because, like, anytime you had a big storm, like, you always lost signal or something like that, and like, you're stuck inside, you wanna be able to watch, like, one of the most common entertainment things to do with like a family is just watch
Yeah.
TV, right? Like, I think, I think the idea of like, bringing like, the streaming, like the direct TV stream, for example, is like way more effective than the satellite.
Yeah. Yeah, you like satellite, just this whole big physical thing that attach it to your space
So
outside.
you lose signal with like the
Yeah.
weather and all that.
Yeah.
and all that.
And it might have stuck around a little bit longer. I just think that, once everything went digital, especially the streaming platforms, it's probably bound to disappear.
And like all the branding deals too, like NBC having like merging like Peacock or like.
Yeah.
And so on.
All right, excellent. Anyone else? All right, so the best practices in new products. We say, hey, for every 100 ideas, fewer than 70 make it to initial screen. So that just means that, hey, we have a lot of ideas, but most companies, brands, individuals, investors, businesses, don't find them to be that feasible in all ways that we kind of talked about before for it to even make it to initial screen. Because you're like, hey, ideas cost money once you start actually trying to make them into a reality, right? So you have to be extremely convincing on the profitability side of these ideas. Fewer than 50 pass concept evaluation and testing. So idea goes into concept evaluation. They're like, hey, we're designing the concept. This is what it's going to be. This is schematics, right? Everything, and then we're going to test it. Actually, one thing, what I think is actually revolutionary. So, read a scientific article that Finland has finally successfully came out with wireless energy transfer, where you get more output than the input. So that essentially means everything could potentially be cordless. So imagine charging your phone without a cord, meaning energy signals will be sent, charging your laptop without a cord, charging anything, the lamp at the house, the cars, the electric vehicles without a charging station. So imagine that. So Finland has successfully kind of came out with that, because the problem with that was before, it's like you put so much energy into the process of trying to beam out energy that it wasn't worth it. There was no net effective value on the back end side. Right, but they successfully did it. So I think in the future we'll see a lot more wireless energy transmission. So maybe, we'll start seeing cars not being able to be charged without a charging station, right? Or like I say, your phone and things of that. Any downsides to that? Or do you think that would just totally revolutionize everything if everything went wireless,
I think they're
cordless?
The thought kind of I have with that maybe is like, depending what it is, something could be a little more temperamental. Because like it will work out or perfect there, cause like the technology is gonna have some imperfections at first.
Mm-hmm.
And so on, so maybe not so much in the beginning, but if they really perfect it and really sell it, make it successful and have very strong customer feedback, then I think it'd be something.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Yeah, of course, it's technology, so it'll have its hiccups at the beginning. About 30 make it through testing, about 25 are commercialized. markets. 15 of these 25, about 60% are successful. And success rate is lower in consumer goods and as high as 65% in healthcare, right? Relative to the rest and the best, using market research tools like creative sessions, trade-off analysis, concept tests, voice of the consumer, alpha and beta testing, test markets, right? You're like, hey, you know what, the market research component to, figuring out what's gonna work for new innovative products, are extremely important, right? So we'll kind of get to these in the various chapters ahead. So we say the best have global markets and operation strategies, such as Apple, right? Use portfolio analysis for product selection. Just essentially mean like, hey, what group of products do we already have within our business? Do they make sense as part of the portfolio that we already have versus something completely unrelated? Usually, if it makes sense to your other portfolio, it probably will last a lot longer. Those who are really good, say use social media and online communities for information gathering, using formal processes for concept selection and team support tools, et cetera, et cetera. Top firms deploy over 50% of their research and development spending in foreign countries. Think about that. So you're like, hey, there's a lot of limitations to things you could do on US soil because of red tape, all sorts of permits, right, all sorts of things. So how about we test the product overseas, right? So we're saying 50% of firms deploy overseas for R&D spending, which makes sense. You can kind of do whatever you want to do in a lot of other countries, right? Kind of get away with things before initially kind of introduce it to your own market. Design research and development and manufacturing may occur at different subsidiaries around the world. So you're like, hey, there's different places for different kind of stages in the product making. Global product teams allow firms to leverage their new product skills across subsidiaries. So we say it's good to kind of have the subsidiaries because you kind of can cross-transfer information in different environments. Some difficulties, coordinating the efforts across multiple countries to launch a successful new product. Obviously, we know the hardest part of marketing is doing it across borders because culture is a huge factor. Different languages, different symbols, meanings, right? Mores, values that people have. So they may not translate as well across the border. But we say having a global innovation culture, being aware of differences in business and cultural environments, and being open global markets is important. So it's important in the kind of sense of think of McDonald's. Like McDonald's core business is essentially fast food and locations, right? Maximizing the number of locations and maximizing the simple process on fast food, right? So you think of they've mastered how to get you the same tasting hamburger, fries, everything in a very quick fashion all around the world. But unfortunately, like places people don't eat beef, well, what do? Right? You offer some sort of vegetarian menu, but it's still McDonald's, it's still fast, right? It's still fries, maybe it's cooked in something else, right? It's still a burger, but it's not made from beef, right? It's still this, it's still that, it's still a quarter pounder, it's just maybe different ingredients, but you still may describe it as such, right? So that's kind of having the global innovation cultural mindset that we're talking about. Firms with a global innovation culture, Procter & Gamble. Products are developed globally in the firm's 22 research centers around 13 countries. What are some products you could think of from P&G, from Procter & Gamble? What kind of products do they make, for example?
What? Soup?
Yeah, Procter & Gamble makes everything. Yeah. Like Procter & Gamble makes detergent, it makes the toothpaste that you use, right? mouthwash, cleaning supplies, soups, right? They own a bunch of brands, right? They create a bunch of brands in different categories to sell. Alright, Apple did product design and customer requirement definition in the US and Japan in developing the iPod. So it's saying here for the iPod, they did most of their design and research in the US and Japan. I don't know if they include the Japanese with their, sort of modern terms. IKEA, right? IKEA, which is a Swedish company, identifies unmet customer needs and commissions in-house and outsourced designers to compete for their design. So what IKEA does is IKEA researches a bunch of furniture designers. They have them all compete, and what IKEA does is like, hey, you know what? You do wonderful designs. What we are good at is making sure we can break this design up into 1,000 pieces with screws, instruction manual, et cetera, et cetera. We'll take on that. But we just want you, we need you for your great designs, right? So they kind of use other outsourced designers to compete for certain designs, right? And they got worldwide manufacturing partners compete for the manufacturing rights, right? So they take designers, integrate them with manufacturing partners, and that's how they create the end products for IKEA products. All right, teams, right? When it comes to new products, a cross-functional team of personnel from all things. So you're like, hey, if you're making a new product, I have to consult the marketing people to know what's feasible in terms of promotion, the budget to get the new product out there, information, advertising, etc. I need to consult the R&D to see is it actually feasible. That kind of coincides with engineering. Can we actually make it, and will we have to skip some quality components, right? Will it take a lot more than we initially thought? And then the manufacturer. Maybe if they agreed that, yeah, it's feasible, now we can actually manufacture it. Well, who's gonna manufacture it? And at what cost? Right, and that kind of coincides with the production stage, design, and other areas. Right? So it means cross-functional team. You don't just have a wonderful idea for a new product, you have to work together to say, is it feasible? Is it marketable? Will it cost too much just to make, therefore it won't even be profitable? Too expensive to manufacture. You have to consult everyone in these sorts of different areas of business. All members of the team make a contribution to the new products process, and the success of the team depends on how well they interact. And try to avoid narrow functional viewpoints and stereotypes. Not all new products are planned, right? Right, sometimes we just happen to come across something because of happenstance, circumstance, or something was made for something else, such as the World Wide Web, right? The internet was made by whom? Internets, the World Wide Web, right? The U.S. military, right? And you're like, that makes sense. They have an unlimited budget, $1 trillion most of the time. They're using it for defense and national security, so that means that they can experiment and do all kind of crazy stuff in the name of national security. That means they will find out new things that can work or not work, that maybe companies and individuals can't find out. Right? One of them happens to be the World Wide Web. How to connect different computers to each other so that they can communicate with each other in different areas, right? Another one may be microwave ovens, right? You say maybe like in the 1950s and 40s, after we started really experimenting with nuclear warheads and started to get really deep into nuclear physics, right? We started to learn things about microwave and how could it be used to heat things up, right? Energy transfer. Aspartame. All right, we just talked about artificial sweeteners. Right? That happens to be something that we just kind of stumbled upon. Scotchgard, Teflon, penicillin, X-rays, right, dynamite. Basically say one thing started off for use, maybe for one particular use, and then companies got in on us like, hey, I think what if we can use it also to sell products, right? Could we use that particular process or ingredients? So what exactly is a new product, right? New to the world or really new, inventions that have created a whole new market. Polaroid camera, used to be huge, right? Anyone's parents ever hit a Polaroid or have a Polaroid camera? Right? What was so cool about it? What does it do?
The picture came out right away.
Yeah, you're like, wow, bless you. You're like, wow, a physical photo. We used to have to go develop this in a dark room and do this and that to get a photo from that picture, right? You're like, that's a lot of work. So what do you do? Eliminate the steps, right? Make it more convenient for people. Have a photo immediately come out. Unfortunately, Polaroid didn't catch up to the digital era because I think Polaroid actually had some of the copyrights, I think, to some of the digital camera sort of technologies, and they didn't think that digital was gonna take off for some reason. And they did, right? And once it did, Polaroid got left in the dust, right? So now Polaroid is not as big as before. All right, iPod and iPad, revolutionize things. Keep all your music in your pocket, and then you can also read books, write things, email from that iPad, right? So you say maybe the iPad kind of substituted the book. I would say maybe the Kindle is in there too. Like human beings been reading books and manuscripts and scrolls forever. It happens that we made an electronic version of that. Laser printer, right? Laser printer was good because it was fast, it was a little bit more concise with printing as opposed to inkjet printers. Rollerblade inline skates, right? People took 4 skates and put 4 into one unilateral skates. Happens to maybe go faster, right? Dexterity, et cetera, et cetera. Procter & Gamble had Febreze and Dryel as well too. New to the firm. So not all things are new to the world, they could just be new to the firm. Products that take a firm into a category new to it. Example, first shampoo or coffee for P&G. Hallmark gift items, AT&T Universal credit cards. Like AT&T was usually into telecommunications, moving into finance, and Canon laser printer. Some other examples for additions to existing product lines. Right, so like extending lines and flankers that flesh out the product, such as Tide Liquid, and maybe the Tide Pods. You're like, oh wow. They're like, hey, you know what? We already got Tide Liquid, maybe we got Tide detergent, but we create little Tide Pods. Right? But like special K line extensions, et cetera, et cetera. And then in some improvements, right? And that kind of also relates to Tide detergent and Tide Pods. Repositioning, products that are retargeted for a new use or application, such as Arm & Hammer baking soda, soda as a refrigerator deodorant. So like before, it was actually used for baking, but now people using Arm & Hammer baking soda to deodorize the refrigerator. Aspirin repositioned as a safeguard against heart attacks. Well, I thought aspirin was for pain medication. Like, yeah, but we also found out it could, kind of curb heart attacks. Oh, so now what if we put that on the bottle now, right? Kind of market that. And then Marlboro retargeted as a man's cigarette. Not only is it a cigarette, it's a man's cigarette. Like, how so? Because our marketing says so, that's why. Why? Because we have product placement in manly movies. Charles Bronson smoking a cigarette, John Wayne, somebody, and now we've repositioned the same old cigarette to become the man's cigarette. And there's some cost reductions. New products that provide the customer similar performance at a lower cost, maybe more of a new product in terms of design or production. So let me ask you quickly, before we get out of here. So when it comes to some of these, here they're talking about Marlboro retargeted as a man's cigarette. Could you think of a product that's actually been out on the market for a while, but then they kind of rebranded it or retargeted it for a different type of customer or something? Yes.
Coke Zero did that, because Diet Coke is pretty much the same as it could possibly be, but they noticed men weren't buying as much, so Coke Zero is more targeted for men.
Think about it. Like, wait, what's the difference in Diet Coke and Coke Zero? So, Coke Zero, I mean, I love Coca-Cola, I just drink the regular, that and cherry Coke. So Coke Zero doesn't have sugar in it at all,
Yeah.
and Diet Coke has artificial sweetener in it. And so they're noticing that men were not buying Diet Coke. So they're like, well, a lot of women still buy it, so let's not eliminate it, but let's come up with something else, Coke Zero. And maybe guys are, and like, well, yeah, because, I mean, the color scheme of it looks a little bit more masculine for Coke Zero, things like that. Say, you're like, hey, okay, we're just gonna rebrand Diet Coke and say Coke Zero and just take out sugar altogether. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like Carhartt, they went from like, you know, obviously they're still like,
Yeah.
really into like, you know, people like constructions and all that, but they're also like more streetwear, vintage kind of brand. Now a lot of people kind of use it that don't really do construction.
Yeah, you're like, hey, how do we make workwear fashionable, right? Carhartt saw that because like, well, people already wear Timberlands, right? Timberlands are really work boots, right? But, you know, people wear them for streetwear, right? Lugs, they used to be very popular. So yeah, Carhartt definitely say, hey, we're good for workwear, but a lot of people kind of use this in the urban kind of fashion sense. What time is it? Okay. All right, we'll end off there. I will see